Thank you very much for that introduction. A special thank you to Sibanye-Stillwater for this invite and opportunity to address people in various sectors of our society. Getting straight to the matter at hand, August 10 to 16 was a horrendous experience in our history. It showed the callousness of man, and let me explain that to you in a more practical manner. Gift for the Givers was involved in assisting those miners at Marikana, those and their families who were extremely hungry. Disappointingly, on one of the days, we received two calls. One was somebody purporting to be from Luturi House. The message to me was, please stop giving food parcels to the miners. This is an instruction from the president. In that, once they're hungry, they will stop the strike soon. I told the person, the president has my number. I don't understand him to be a person like that. Tell him he must call me directly to say those words himself to me. But let me tell you directly to take the message home to those you receive from Luturi House that I will now double the number of food parcels to give to those poor people. At some point in the day, I get a call from somebody who says they're part of the investors in Lonman Mining. The same message, stop feeding the miners and their families, and with hunger, soon the strike will stop. This is this huge disregard for human rights, for human emotions and human feelings. It was terribly disappointing to see that kind of sentiment coming from people who are well-heeled, who have nothing to lose, whose wives and children do not go through the hardship and difficulties that those poor people in Marikana went. It's time not to live in the past, but to reflect from the past. And over a period of time into the current, especially in the current year, when we are trying to build the country and bring social cohesion and put people together, we've been getting a lot of negative people saying, failed state, collapse grid, blackout, social unrest, economic collapse, all those kind of negative things. You can't build a country on negative sentiment. And a lot of the negativity came because of COVID, not because of COVID, but because of the effect of COVID. Mental health took a huge knock during COVID. People died in isolation. A child couldn't hold his mother or her mother that was passing on in an ICU. Husband watched in distress while wife passing away and could not touch the hand or the body in the last few minutes. It was a very lonely death. Healthcare workers, we lost 1,500 doctors. We lost 2,000 teachers. Kids lost their parents. Parents lost brothers and sisters and family members, sometimes more than 5 in a family. It was a real tough time emotionally. The country hadn't healed from that. And because of lack of healing in that process, any minor challenge becomes a major issue. So we learned from Marikana. We learned from COVID. We learned from the civil unrest in KZN in 2021. We learned from the floods of 2022. And we don't fear the challenge with ESCOM in 2023. Why do I say that? Positivity makes a body that's not physically strong work much better. A negative mindset will destroy a body totally. We speak about social unrest and a lack of cohesion and how the country will fall apart because of hunger. And because in 2021, there was unrest because of hunger. There is no unrest because of hunger. There is no lack of social cohesion. The masses of this country are very, very peaceful people. This is a message of positivity to the government, to the corporates, to the mining companies, everyone. We need to respect the dignity of people because we ourselves would want our dignity respected. You see, 27 April 1994 was not the defining moment in this country because a black government took over white government. That was not the defining moment. Governments come and go all the time. That's nothing new. What was significant was the attitude of the masses of this country. The world media came with their war rooms and coming to film the crisis, the chaos, the violence, the eruption, the fire, the burning that's going to take place. People have finally been liberated and given the opportunity to take revenge for all the hardship and difficulty they went through. You were told, keep your passports ready, buy food, stock your homes up. You're not going to able to go anywhere. It was the most boring event in world history. Nothing happened. But in nothing happened, everything happened. What do I mean? You see, Mandela always said, the people have spoken. On 27 April 94, the people spoke without saying the words. Their body language said everything. They stood in those lines in discipline, respect, hope, and in obedience for something to bring change in their lives. Like those miners that stood at the copy, were waiting for a change in their lives. They didn't say on 27 April, we were detained without trial. We were shot at Soweto. We were shot in Sharpeville. We had to follow the Dom Pass. Our children disappeared. Our family members disappeared. We were tortured. We were oppressed. Now's the time. Let's take our revenge. No. The body language said, we will hold hands. We will not burn the country. We're looking for hope. We want to build and we want to do things together. That was the body language. A year later, Nelson Mandela wears the rugby shirt of Francois Pienaar at great political risk to himself, because the rugby shirt and rugby is regarded as the sport of the oppressor, and yet he wore it. And people said he was a sellout. And he sold the people out. A true leader balances between the war and the battle. Better to lose the battle than to lose the war. Because when communities turn against each other, hundreds of years of healing and talking and serving and supporting will never change and fix that. I'm not a normal tourist. I'm a disaster tourist. I specialize in going to chaos, disorder, confrontation, war, damages, natural and unnatural. And I see how communities tear themselves apart in civil war and friction between themselves. People from the same street, same religion, same color, same community. Once you tear yourself apart, there is no coming back. It takes hundreds of years. But our people on 27 April 1994 said, in without the words, that we are a people of faith. We believe in rebuilding, in renewal. All we want is dignity. Those miners in Marikana were asking for the same thing. We delivered thousands of food parcels to their families. What was incredible, white miners were scared to come where the black miners were. And we said, we treat everybody equally. The white miners then got brave, and their families got into the buses. We took them to the site of distribution. They were welcomed by the black miners. The black miners gave space and said, you can go first. No racism, no friction, no anger. They were hungry together. While corporate members and investors were planning how to destroy miners and bring them to their knees, miners were showing true humanity. All they wanted was to feed their children. That is the aspiration of 60 million South Africans. All they want are not expensive German cars or a high-rise building to stay in or expensive luxury homes. All they want is dignity. How to feed their children, send them to school, have good health services, good social cohesion, good neighborliness, no crime. They can't do it on their own. The government can't do it on their own. Everyone says government's corrupt. Government is not corrupt. There are corrupt people within government, like there are monsters within certain mining companies, like there are corrupt people in corporates, in the religious sector, in the NGO sector, in the private sector. You have monsters and people who are corrupt all over. It doesn't make the entire country bad. People say the SCPS is corrupt. They're bad people. They're part of the gangster element. Everybody in the SCPS is not corrupt, not a gangster element. We'll destroy the moral fiber of people when we have such negative thoughts and negative sentiments and paint everyone with the same brush. We stand together. We hold together. We fix things together. You see, if you offer our country to Germany, Canada, Australia, America, Britain, anybody in Europe and say, please take over this country. They will look at you like there's something wrong with you. How can 7.4 million people's taxes look after 65 million people? It's totally impossible. And especially since pre-94, we were responsible for that lack of education, lack of opportunity, no income, no jobs, no development, can't look after your families. We've inherited that. We have a duty to reverse that. And the only way we can do that is with government, corporates, NGOs, religious sector, and the country joining hands together. What Sibanye is doing, following the takeover and the renewal, the housing, the care, fulfilling the promises, is an example that all corporates and all mining companies in South Africa are going to follow. But while saying that, I need to be very clear that there has been a huge change in the thinking of corporate South Africa. During COVID itself, we never got calls from the CSI heads. And let's be honest, CSI departments were created to fulfill a government regulation. There was no sincerity, no commitment, no compassion. It was about ticking boxes. The first question they will ask is not about the quality of the project. How many BE points will we get? Will we get a tax certificate? Can you arrange for us to get some media interviews or a write-up? That was the focus of your CSI. Not communities are bleeding. They need help. They need assistance. What should we do? How should we do it? No such thing. Across the corporate sector. But in COVID, a new realization dawned. When the CEOs and the MDs of companies called, not the CSI, the CEOs and MDs, and said, forget all those issues of BE and tax certificate and media coverage. Please tell us how to save our country and how to save our people. When you bring compassion into commercialization, we have an Islamic teaching. It's called barakah. Barakah means blessings beyond measure. Tenfold blessed. When you give blessings, when you do something good, it comes back tenfold to 700-fold. Whatever you give comes back to you. Sibanye and other companies are starting to set an example in a big way. To make a country grow, you don't drop people down. You hold them and you pull them up with you. In that way, everybody prospers. If you leave them, they will pull you down, and certainly everything will collapse. So we have a responsibility to them. And I thank those corporates who've come out and said, how do we save the country? In 2021, the corporates showed the same kind of non-malice, no vengeance after the civil unrest in KZN. It wasn't riots. We don't have time to discuss that. It wasn't riots. It wasn't an insurrection. It was outright looting, and the orchestrators of that looting are what we call traitors and anti-patriots. The blame went on the poor people. They were used as pawns. Yes, they did the wrong thing, but they were used as pawns. And they had immense remorse after that event to say, what did we do? Terrible thing that we did. This is not part of our culture and part of our way. But at that point, the guys who responded first were the corporates whose warehouses were looted and burned, whose trucks, forklifts, and equipment and supplies were stolen and damaged and destroyed. They responded first. No anger. How do we help our people? They're hungry. How do we rebuild our country again? An example of what corporates can do blending in with the people. 11 April 2022, when the floods hit KZN, we're expecting calls from everywhere. Send a boat, send a helicopter, send a diver, send earth moving equipment. No such calls. The only calls we got was from corporate South Africa up till 1 a.m. into the 12th of April. And the only question, how can we help and what do you need? The corporate mindset change has been consistent. There's been an increasing amount of intervention, and the CSI spend we want to increase. Not only that, the corporate heads are trying to get the staff involved to see what's happening on the ground. I don't have too much time. I just want to make two more points. The one is that during lockdown in July 2020 in Makanda, known as, to those who don't know, it's Grantstown, a child comes in the queue, barefoot, cold, shivering, thin, torn shirt, no jersey, no jacket, no hat. Comes to one of our soup kitchens and says, I'm very hungry, but I won't eat much. Do you mind giving the food for my mother, my father, my brother, and my sister? They haven't eaten for days. Can you please give that food? I won't eat too much. The child has become the sacrificial lamb, an indication of everything that's wrong in our society that we need to fix. How would you react if your child was in that situation? When a child falls down a pit latrine, a 2-year-old, and drowns in feces, how do you explain to parents that your child died in feces? How would we, in our ivory towers, expensive cars, wonderful homes, business class travel, take it if our grandchild or child died in that feces? We need a realignment of our thinking, and we need total commitment to social values and holding hands of people and returning their dignity. My final message is my instruction that I got from a spiritual teacher. Gift of the Givers is not my organization. I didn't get up one morning to say I'm going to form an organization and give it a name. I got a spiritual instruction from a spiritual master on the 6th of August, 1992, on a Thursday night at 10 p.m. He said, my son, I'm not asking you. I'm instructing you to form an organization. The name in Arabic will be Waqful Waqifin, translated, Gift of the Givers. You will serve all people of all races, all religions, all colors, all classes, all cultures, of every geographical location and of any political affiliation. But you will serve them unconditionally. You will expect nothing in return, not even a thank you. This is an instruction for the rest of your life. Serve people with love, kindness, compassion, and mercy. And remember, the dignity of man is foremost. Sibanye, other mining companies, government guys sitting in your offices that don't know what's going on in the ground, you need to get out and see what's happening in the field. You could have been on the other side. Fortunately, you're on the right side, the happy side, the lucky side, the prosperous side. 60 million people need our hands. They need our support. And this initiative by Sibanye should carry on with all other corporates and even ordinary people. It's not the jobs of corporates only. Individual people can make a difference. Thank you for an opportunity to share a few minutes with you. Let's restore the dignity of our people and together hold hands to build a great South Africa. This is the greatest country on earth. But all the problems and all the challenges we have, there is no better, and it will get far better than what it is right now if we hold hands together. Thank you for your time and all the best for the rest of your conference.